Welcome to Akhand Vidyashram, the first institute of impeccable wisdom. I am going to talk about a new term called Tan Vidya. Actually, it is derived on Tantra, which is can be called Tan Shastra. Shastra is a knowledge, Vidya is a knowledge, Tan is the physical body. And I am making it very clear because I wanted to differentiate from Tantra, Tantra Vidya, and Tan Vidya. When I talk of Tan Vidya, I have talked about physical anatomy, physiology, biochemistry by and large. I am not talking in terms of Kundalini, chakras, nadis, and that subtle aspects which is known under Tantra. Let's stick only to the perfect physical anatomy, physiology, and biochemistry by and large. The perfect human body. Let's start with that. Now, as I have been saying from the very beginning, my dharma is impeccable wisdom, knowing which everything else is fully known and executed one by one for the universal consciousness. For us to be in tune with solar system, divine consciousness, perfect physical body, our indwelling soul and higher soul together as a full package, the way divinity has created the universe and human being by and large in the perfect model. Human being as a microcosmic representation of the macrocosmic universe. And the thing which stands out in the entire universe is the Divyank, the divine design with which the perfect objects of the entire universe, which form the core, have been designed with. In the light of Divyank, we are going to see the beauty of Akhandata one by one and say, this is ultimate knowledge. Now, at this particular juncture, let me also bring it very clearly that Sanatana Dharma is known for three pillars. Tantra are the Tan Vidya, Mantra are the phonetic sounds, Yantra the symbolic language. But I have added another fourth concept as Ganit Vidya to make it very clear if it has to be scientifically correct. The way it is designed by nature and also scientifically seen, it has to have a conclusive mathematical design. The design of nature with which the perfect objects of the entire universe are designed is only mathematics, geometry only. Similarly, mother of all the sciences, arts, has to be mathematics only. So unless until we know Ganit Vidya, we cannot really be conclusive. It could be philosophy, vichardhara and other things. And my desire is to bring impeccable wisdom which nobody can deny. And it is 60 odd years of my hard learning and sharing the knowledge step by step. And my effort is not to present anything which is defective. And it has to be only core. I am not talking about periphery, dynamic world. I am talking about core, static, which is perfect. Dynamism can we leave it at. Let's not get into that. Now let's start with the human cell, which is a core value. Let me tell you one thing very clearly. Before the universe was created, Veds say it was in an andhikar, a tamas part. And Maharaj Yajnavalkya called it mrityu form, a dead form, and maybe something which was not moving. But I have called it an isomers neon 21 from which the entire universe has created. The isomers neon 21 collided with isomers 21 to produce 22, and with that light and then all the 10 stages of involution to the matter as such we know, I can say the human body is nothing but a bunch of atoms, elements, molecules, compounds and cells. And then of course we can go to the tissues, tissue organs, 10 systems and organism. But having come to the stage that we have brought atoms, elements, molecules, compounds from the universe after creation to the earth through the rain, and this was all in the ocean water by and large. And the first life as a unicellular organism started in the warm waters of the ocean, and all requirement of cells came from the ocean water, and all the bad products were thrown into golden water. But I am glad as today we have grown from unicellular organism of E. coli etc. to the one we can call human beings, multicellular organisms of 100 trillion cells. But 100 trillion cells cannot go to sea for its requirement as well as expulsion. So the whole system was transformed step by step, with the open from the sun to the tube to the one which we have. But one thing which I want everybody to understand at this particular juncture is, one thing hasn't changed from the creation of the first unicellular organism to most advanced human being as a multidimensional is our environment has not changed. Extracellular fluid or interstitial fluid of human body concentration is as good as what was there in primordial ocean. Warm water, temperature, sodium chloride, glucose, other ingredients, and of course chloride, and all the things came from the sun. So extracellular fluid or interstitial fluid concentration is exactly what it should be there. So that's something. But now ocean had to be brought in that, and then inside cellular thing which we are going to talk about it. So now we have come to human cell, where I can call it 100 trillion cells are by themselves 100 trillion government within our body. If Vedas talk about gods and goddesses of different nature, they are talking of different atoms, elements, cells, compounds and living beings in different forms which represent different aspects of nature. I respect the beauty of Ved to talk of 33 crore possibilities, and I have experienced that within my body, within my cells, within my whole being. And now from that, let's go of the divine design of human cell as it's designed by nature. Now, as I told you, human cell is a structural and functional unit of the human body. There are 200 different types of cells. There are 100 trillion cells. And now there are two types of cells in the body. One is called living cell, which can recreate or procreate new cells out of them. And you also have mature red blood cells and neuron cells which cannot reproduce. They are functional cells, but for procreation living cells are required, and that is the quality. Now come to the question of studying the structure of human cell anatomy. As I told you, we have to understand anatomy first. Under the compound microscope, cells by and large cannot be seen with our eyes. It's a reality. It's not possible. But under compound microscope, when you look at the cell, we can only see three parts. You can see the cell membrane outside, you can see cytoplasm, you can see nucleus, as is shown in this particular picture. Is what Trinity is, and that is what I am trying to say. Nature designed everything in three forms. If you have Lord Brahma, Lord Vishnu, Lord Shiva on one side, or you have Bhumi, Antariksh, or heaven as a part of the solar system, or in the cell membrane, cytoplasm and nucleus. It's the same reflection everywhere, the same story. Whether it's divine spirituality or the structure of solar system or the structure of the human body, as such, each cell is exactly identical, and that is what Trinity is all about. One is converted into three as a manifestation. That is what Upanishads are talking about, and I respect that clarity in mind. Now the come to question of understanding things under electron microscope. Same cell membrane, which under compound microscope you see as one part, under electron microscope you can see 7 parts. And in cytoplasm you can see 7 parts or 7 organelles. And nucleus also you can see 7 parts. As a result you have 21 parts. And that is exactly what Upanishad talk about. The solar system can be measured in 21 parts. It is not coincident. There were thousands and thousands of years ago, they knew very well solar system is made of 21 parts. And I am talking about cell is also made of 21 parts. This is one. Now we are going to study that in detail. Now there comes the question of cell membrane. This is a beautiful picture of Encyclopedia Britannica. And you can see 2 layers of lipid bilayer as separate one as phospholipids. The outer one is phosphoric lipid, which is loving water are hydrophilic phosphoric nature. But inside you have lipid which is hydrophobic, non-polar fatty acids. And there are two layers. They work as a shield from the external world to the internal world of the cell. And once that is understood, I think we'll understand physiology and biochemistry much, much better. Then all the three, carbohydrates, fats and proteins, are the parts of the cell membrane as such. And that is what I have shown in this particular picture. There is protein, there is carbohydrate and there is fatty acids. There is a cholesterol. But 7 major parts, as you can see in this, stand out. Now come to the next question. As I told you, this cell membrane divides the atmosphere into two components. One is outside extracellular fluid or interstitial fluid, which supplies from the blood through the capillaries into the cells. Now, at this particular juncture, let me say, at arterial end of the capillaries, pressure will be about 61.8 millimeter, and in the venous end it will be 38.2. That's one part. Now, extracellular fluid has got water, nutrients, electrolytes and other things, which is primarily revolves on water and sodium chloride of 160 millioccurrence. But when the cell membrane, only things which can go inside are lipid soluble things like oxygen, etc., or steroids. But water and water soluble cannot go through as such except in aqua core, but they go through the secondary thing along with ATP as a thing, as a secondary process. Intracellular has more of a potassium, calcium and other organisms, not sodium chloride water as such, but water content inside the intracellular is also has to be 61.8%. That's also very clear. Water content has to be 61.8034, solid content 38.1966. That's one thing which is maintained for a perfect cell as such, and that's why Divyank plays a very important role. Now comes the question of 7 organelles, and here I have shown 7 parts. Now we will try to understand these 7 parts one by one in a description in the next few slides. The first thing, as I told you, the mitochondria is very important. I have shown the structure has been designed, which you can leisurely see at a later date, what inner membrane, intermembrane, matrix, quartase, rhizome, and of course ATPase, cristae and DNA is a part of the mitochondria. Mitochondria is the most important part because it produces adenosine triphosphate, which is energy required for secondary transport system. And they have originated from E. coli, and beauty of E. coli is unicellular organism. When fed into the right medium and developed in the 37-degree temperature in the incubator, they develop 10 times only, not beyond that. And every 40 minutes they change. And that is the beauty of this, and that is the remnant of E. coli is what mitochondria is. They are functionally almost identical. That's the reason I have talked of this as the first thing. That's very, very important. And mitochondria will produce ATP. But in case of thyroid hormone, the same mitochondria produces heat rather than ATP from protein breakdown products as well as triglycerides. So that way the beauty of this has to be understood, because real energy power. And once you know the energy power, then you can have the kind of energy which is required for you to be in tune with universal consciousness. That's it. Now there comes to a question of endoplasmic reticulum has 2 layers. One is a rough endoplasmic reticulum. It is responsible for synthesis of proteins. It is closely connected with the nucleus, which has DNA, RNA and translation material to convert food into amino acids and DNA. That is endoplasmic rough. Then you have smooth endoplasmic reticulum, which is next to that. It is responsible for synthesis of lipid like phospholipid, which is a part of the cell membrane, and cholesterol, which is absolutely essential, carbon 27 for all the steroids. That is another thing which is very important to have a good cholesterol quality, and particularly HDL has to be better. In HDL, protein content is much more than LDL. That is also something which I want everybody to understand. It is responsible for steroids, and of course metabolism of carbohydrate is this smooth endoplasmic reticulum. Now come to the Golgi body apparatus is another thing which is very important. It transports the molecules synthesized by rough endoplasmic reticulum, that means proteins. The molecules fuse with the membrane and are sorted out for destination, and molecules undergo remodeling and modification in the cistern, and they are secreted out to be used by organelles to made into something which is perfect. So they are like a transmitter subjects. So that is the important part of the Golgi body apparatus. Now it comes to the lysosome as well as ribosome. Lysosome contains hydrogen peroxide. It has a capacity to break down the waste product, cellular products which are not at all required. The breaking down is lysing, and that plays an important role to free the body of unwanted, uncalled for things. Okay. Then ribosome is where protein formation comes up. So making of amino acids and uniting amino acids to form proteins is done in the ribosomes. So these 6 parts we have talked very clearly about cytoplasm's organelles. And these are the parts which I am talking about. You have seen how they come inside and how they are thrown out by endocytosis to exocytosis. Once this process is understood, you are pure scientist by and large. Now we are coming to the 7th part of centrosome, and I call there is one part called centrosome which is very close to the nucleus but is not part of the nucleus. That is something. But you can see the picture on the left side are the two centrioles in the centrosome, both put together. But the structure of centrosome, a centriole, as you can right side, is you have a circle in the middle by the 9 tetragons, and each one with third. This is very scientific, and that is what Pragyan Chakra I have seen on the right side on top of it, which I have created. Pragyan Chakra and centriole are identical. It's beautiful because they power by themselves. Pragyan is the absolute knowledge, and this is what knowledge how to make living cells into mother and daughter cells and move on. So this is important part, and this part with centrosome is like a 21 parts. When centrosome becomes 2 centrioles just before the creation and divide into cells, so each cell becomes 22 by 21, and that is exactly what Upanishads are talking about. Solar system is made of 21 parts. To go beyond, you need to take a 22nd step to go to the blissful stage or the creation of new life or liberation or moksha. And same thing is in the science too. I'm just trying to bring together, there is no difference between spirituality and the modern science. But let us not talk of the man-made concepts. Let's talk of the divine concept. Divine spirituality and divine science, which is mathematical and conclusive, are identical. That's it. Now come to the question of nucleus, which is third part. You can see the structure, but picture down you can see centrosome is very close to the nucleus. Now we are going to see the structure. Human cell structure, you can see nuclear pores on the left side. You can see nuclear membrane. You can see chromatin statin. You can see granules. You can see cryoplasm. You can see nucleus. You can see chromatin as well as fibril. All these 7 parts make science of nucleus very powerful, and that is the energy thing from which life comes out. Since it produces proteins through DNA to RNA to mRNA, etc., so it has a power. So this can produce a kind of powers required for the cell by and large. That is important because of genes which are embedded in this, and you have 22 pairs of autosomes plus X and Y in a male and female, and that makes it very, very unique. Then comes as a picture I have shown. In this picture you can see centrosome is very close to nucleus, but outside the nucleus membrane. I think that is something which I want everybody to see. This is part of centrosome cytoplasm, not the nucleus. Now, nucleus is inside as one part which I am not going to detail, but this is a component which everybody should understand because power goes within the nucleus. And all the things which go within that have been shown in the picture down. That is real cell biology. You can see the cell in the front, you can see nucleus, you can see nucleolus. And that is what has a rRNA and tRNA as a condensation comes over there. Now, I am not going to go detail, it will become very lengthy. Now, I am going to talk about something which is very unique when it comes to the nucleus. Watson and Crick were given Nobel Prize in 1953 for the model they have created. You have seen the model. Now, I have redesigned the model keeping in mind Divyank. This is starting point. I am not going to detail, but I will take you to the picture which I have designed with Divyank. Is this particular picture. Now, in this, if you look at this picture very clearly, you see a structure which has a length of 21 angstrom and height of almost 34, and you have 10.34 angstrom. And you have on either side ribose, phosphoric and some chain on either side, and nucleic acid in the middle. Now you are going to see the difference between Watson and Crick's model and Divyank model as done by me. Now, comparison is Watson talks about with 20 angstrom, whereas I talk about 21. Each strand is 22 angstrom, which he does not talk about it. They talk about 10 strands and I talk about 10.344 strands. I talk about 33.9854 angstrom and they talk about 34. 20 into 34 and I talk about 22 into 34. Minor groove at 10, 12 is same. Major groove at 22 is same. There I had no disagreement. Then you have two sugar phosphate back chain. Absolutely no. Starting at 5 and 3 is also identical. Wonderful work. There is no doubt about it. Central nitrogen change of adenine and thymine is one group. Guanine and cytosine is second group. There are two groups of nitrogen chain in the center. And they are connected. Adenosine and thymine is with the 2 hydrogen, whereas guanine and cytosine with 3 hydrogen. We are going to see that structure now to convince ourselves that is the detailed knowledge which we need for the world to understand impeccable wisdom one by one. Now let's come to 5 end on one side, 3 on the other side, opposite on the other side. Deoxy and phosphoric combination, you have 122 protons on either side and total of 244. There is a mathematical design, but I will not go into that. Let's go to the nucleic acid in the middle. You had adenine and thymine is a one combination and which is connected with the 2 hydrogen bonds only. You see both the closing end in the center are 2 parallel lines and you have NH-OH as such. So there are only 2 bonds between it. What is more important, the number of protons in adenine is 70 protons and thymine it is 66 protons. Both put together become 136 protons. That's something which I want you to note now. Number of proton is 136 in this nucleic acid combination. And then the second one is cytosine and guanine. It has got 3 hydrogen bonds because it is not 2 parallels. You have one line on one side with the 2 and you have 3 on the other side. 2 plus 3 become 3. 2 and 3 is also in Divyank ratio. What is interesting here is the number of protons in cytosine is 78 and guanine is 58 and together they are 136. Is it by coincidence? It's a divine design. How nature was very clear, will make product in such a way which your protons are also identical. That's exactly what I'm trying to say. I want the NISR Research Center to go to the level of what Vedas or Rig Veda is talking about, atomic level, to elemental level, to molecule level, to compound levels, to the cell level. Once we understand that, then only you'll have the wisdom of the highest order. And that is exactly what I'm trying to say. When I look at Vedas, I look at Aitreya Upanishad, when I look at science, I am able to present much better because there is something hidden there which has not been seen. And I am able to see and show. With that we can make modern science 1,000 times better than as it is known by throughout the world. That is uniformity I'm talking about. And of course, stand is 10.34, length 21, 22. This is a beautiful part of genes or B double helix of the human being, what makes it very, very unique. And that you have 22 autosomes and of course X and Y. Now come to the question of first we have seen 22 by 21, the first stage of creation. Then 10 stages of development is something you see in red blood cell formation only. The first one cell, which is germ cell, from which stem cells originate, totipotent or pluripotent, is blue colored large nucleus 21 microns. When you take a DNA, is 21 angstrom, where it is 21 micron, which increases to 22 micron at the first stage of cometary progenitor cellular, which is going to enlarge to become 1. Then burst forming, colony, provenance, early normoblasts, intermediate normoblasts, late normoblasts, reticulocyte and erythrocyte, the 10 stages you can see, which modern science has sent, and I'm not putting from my call. I'm only showing what has been done. Elevated. What is the beauty in this? Again, trinity can be seen. Pluripotent cells are 21 micron. But when it is a mature cell, is 1/3 of it, 7 micron. Is that coincidence? No, divinity is like that. And of course, the volume of stem cell is 900 cubic microns, and a volume of mature red blood cell is just 90, which is 1/10, which also shows 10 stages you can see. In volume also you can see the same stages. And then reduction by 10 times. Is it coincidence? No. An irregular blue shape becomes red biconcave shape is also a beautiful design, a transformation to stage. And from blue color to red color, one stem cell to 10,000, and lovely red blood cells are formed in 21 days. Amazing. Similarly, when I think of hen egg is hatched in 21 days. And that is exactly what I'm trying to bring together in Divyank, the divine design which is seen in all the things. And I'm trying to eliminate all defective ones and bring to one uniform, so that we have a knowledge uniform throughout the world for all the students. Starting school, college, university, research to publication, uniformity. Let's not give a man-made designs of algebra, geometry, this thing, and confuse everything. The Akhand Vidyashram, this work is primarily only that. From Vijayadashmi, you're going to see another thing as a Mahagranth as such. It's going to be really amazing. Now consider this particular concept. I have talked about it, but I feel it is my duty to show why a student who listens to me very, very carefully, I make it very clearly. I cannot change every student, but I can change the student who listens to me very carefully from moment 1 to the last without raising any question. Because I try to explain everything step by step, and I expect my student to listen to me very carefully. Do not raise even a single question. Come to my class with an empty mind is what I am talking about. Do not carry any knowledge to my class, because unlearning and learning is very difficult. You are designed with man-made designs which I want you to forget about it. Come to my class, I am going to give you impeccable wisdom. Listen to me very carefully. After listening to the whole lecture, let's have a dialogue of the things which you have not understood. Based on that, and you can rectify. I know after giving a lecture on erythropoiesis, formation of red blood cells, one student got up and asked me a question. Is red blood cell a living cell or not? Very genuine question, very innocent question, and I am thankful to that boy having raised that question in the class with 150 students taking part. And that dialogue which took place is the dialogue which I want in every student to have. I do not want student to mug, vomit and forget. I want student to understand concept very clearly, step by step, and design that in your brain and remember it for rest of your life. That is what I have done since my childhood, and I am very powerful to talk about it extempore at any stage. I don't need any examination to be go exam. No, that's it. So I said it is not a living cell, and then he asked me why it is not a living cell. Because living cell is one quality which stands out, it should procreate. Because red blood cells are mature cells, but they cannot make new cells. So as a result, you cannot call it living cell. That's one part. So then the second question was raised, why they cannot cell? Then he himself suggested along with other students, is it because there is no nucleus? Yes, there is no nucleus is one part. But nucleus is not the one which is responsible for procreation. This was a shock for the student. And we have been taught about nucleus being the center of procreation. Your genetic structure is this, and you are saying it's just the opposite. But fact is, nucleus is not for procreation. Nucleus is to produce things as energy, other things required for the cell's functions. They say, how do you give an example? Very clear. You look at a neuron cell, has a nucleus, but it cannot reproduce. Then how do you do? You need neuron cells from beginning till the end because it is a memory center. You cannot replace, you cannot reproduce. But you have a nucleus because you need protein building and other things for the cell. So nucleus is from that the body cells energy to produce it. Then the question then, if nucleus is not the one, then what is the one which is actually responsible for procreation? Very simple. In living cell, it is a centrosome which is one of the organelles in cytoplasm which is made of two centrioles which become two at the first time of division. And that is what you are going to see in a germ cell. Blue, pluripotent, totipotent living cells have that. And that is responsible. And that is something which is missing in mature red blood cells, as well as neuron cells. That is not there. As a result, it cannot produce. This is how, and that's how things moved. I think that is the kind of knowledge we should have in a class. First give a lecture, produce all the things. Then after that there is any question of discussion left, should be discussed conceptually such a way that this kind of not this, not this, not this. So what is it? That is what I'm now, having done that in my school, college, university, otherwise, now I'm taking to the world that this is the knowledge for the world. And this is the kind of knowledge not available anywhere in the world because nobody makes you think. And I want thinking now because human beings have the thinking brain of the highest order. Unless and we do that, we cannot reach. So then impeccable wisdom which I gave, I was a phenomenal fun student, and I am very happy to say, I think thank you very much. You made the class very interesting. I took him to tuck shop and bought him a beautiful chocolate. I said, you deserve this as a chocolate, enjoy it. But that's how I see my teachers should be. When I was a student, my teachers encouraged me like that, and I do the same thing with my students. That's it. Now comes to the question of first is the Tan Vidya of the cells as such. Now comes the Pindant. Now I have used the Pindant because you have now Brahmand and Pindantam Ekam. They are one. Now we have come to the structure complete as such. We are not talking one cell alone. There are 100 trillion cells. So in 100 trillion cells, now you can say atom, element, molecule, compound to cells, cells to the tissues, tissues the tissue organs, and 10 organ systems to organism is what Pindant is all about. And then you have 10 systems in the human body, which I am going to talk about it. Now, as you say, the statement is ancient Indian statement, Pindandam Brahmandam Ek. Pindandam means physical structure, Pind means body. It's like an egg, and Brahmand is also egg, and that is what is the 22 by 21. They are one. So human body and universe are identical. So human body is a microcosmic representative, microcosmic universe or nature. This is a fact. And you have three types of cells: ectoderm, endoderm and mesoderm. Leave it. Now 10 organ systems are very important, which I want everybody to understand. If the first structure is 22 by 21, you have 10 systems everywhere. What are the 10 systems? You have a skeleton system with 206 bones, which shield and movement. Muscular system has got 3 again, trinity: skeletal, smooth and cardiac muscles. Then skin, you have excretory system, elimination of waste product. The digestive system, supply of water, nutrient, electrolyte one by one. Then you have a respiratory system, which brings in oxygen and throws out carbon dioxide. And carbon dioxide expulsion is only 61.8034 as such. Then endocrine system is for essential hormones. Then you have blood immune system, which carries all the vital needs of the cells. Then cardiovascular system is effective transport system to take things from heart to the different cells by and large. And reproduction is something which is important, which to make the thing very important is also very important system. But on top of that, you have nervous system, which is master control and networking system. And this is system which I want everybody to understand. As a matter of fact, as a teacher, my desire in a medical student should be taught nervous system first, then endocrine system, before we go to other system by and large. Because all the connecting information is there in nervous system and endocrine system, and without that, rest of the system cannot be understood. And I am going to do that myself. I have already done. Now we will be taking it further one by one in a little better way. Now the vital statistics in this particular bit, I can say top to bottom is divided into one part. From head to tail is upper half, tail to sole is the second half, and 25, 25, 25, 25. But head to navel is 38.1 and navel to sole is 61.8. This is again according to Divyank ratio only. And now brain is the most important part. It is stored in the skull bones and the face bones, where 8 plus 14 are 22 bones. Out of which 21 are fixed and 1 is free, and the one which is free is mandible. So 22 by 21, which is brain creation, you can see in the brain bones itself. But when it comes to the other movement of skeletal system, you have the axial part as well as peripheral part. When you talk of the axial bone structure, it has got 22 bones in the head, 30 in the vertebral column, and 25 in the chest, put together as 77. But when it comes to the arms and legs, arms have got 64, legs have got 62, the total 126. 126 and 77 is the ratio of Divyank again. Is it a coincidence? No. That's the reality of life. And that is exactly what I want to teach in such a way so that it is very entertaining and mathematically conclusive. Now there comes to a question of skeletal system, which is second part. You have skeletal muscles which are there for movement, and it uses glucose. It has the least amount of energy. Smooth is involuntary, which digestive system as well as eyes and lymph system and other things are seen. It is the middle. The cardiac muscles are the one which run from the second month of gestation, second to the stage when die. But here it is not glucose which is taken, it is a fatty acid, and fatty acids do not get converted into lactic acid or pyruvic acid and produce pain. And that is something again I want people to understand. Carbohydrate and protein give you 1 gram as 4 kilocalories, but fatty acid can give you 9 kilocalories. Why they can give more calories? Because carbohydrate to fatty acid are done, but what is removed is oxygen. In fatty acid you have only O2, but then beta oxidation we put oxygen into that to produce more ATP. That is the kind of knowledge we should have. We should have a thinking doctors, and I have made students think rationally, and they are doing extremely well because they think before they utter. That's it. Now come to the question of next stage called akhandata, the homeostasis. Now we have talked of the cells, we have talked of the tissues, we have talked of the structures. Now we need to bring balance within the physical body, for which homeostasis is very important. But for one definition which I say, an absence of disease is not health. Integrated health is perfect physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, otherwise. That is the definition which I talk about it. Now the question of the Akhandata, you have 10 variables again. What are the 10 variables which are absolutely essential? One is the water component, which has to be 61.8034%. That's the percentage of water on the earth, in the human body, as well as each cell. Then you have blood volume of 5 liters. Then blood sodium potassium levels, hormones level, mean arterial blood pressure 93, blood sugar 111 milligram, partial pressure of oxygen, and corpuscular carbon dioxide with Divyank, and acid-base balance of pH of 7.4 and body temperature 37 degree. If these 10 variables are maintained, you will be perfectly healthy, wealthy, wise human being. If they are disturbed, you need to correct it. Now there are two negative and positive feedback mechanisms which make sure that homeostasis is maintained. In negative feedback, the cause and effects are in the opposite direction. Blood pressure goes up, it is brought down. When it goes down, it brought up. That is system. And system is normally in blood sugar, blood pressure, acid-base balance, body temperature, and other examples. But there is another system called positive feedback mechanism, where cause and effects are in the same direction, which they go on multiplying till they resolve the thing. And the best example is child delivery. When time comes, how set coming down, cervical cervix, signal is created, oxytocin is released, and release is done. So that is a beautiful example. But bad example is if you lose 1 liter of blood in accident, body can maintain it through negative feedback. But if it's 2 liters, negative feedback cannot mobilize. Then a lot of pressure is put on the heart, and most probably person is going to die if the treatment is not given replacement with water and electrolytes or RBC or blood as such. That's important. Now, as far as I told you, Earth's water has to be 61.8%. Similarly, matter has to be 38.1. Intracellular fluid has to be 61 and extracellular has to be 38.1, which I have shown it very clearly. I am totally talking about uniform structure which is perfect, and these are the structures which are taken from the internet. And of course 111 milligram is the perfect value, 80 to 140 is fine, 68 to 130 is also okay, will get adjusted with diet control otherwise, but when goes below or goes up, that is a concern to be executed medically by and large. Now, calcium is another thing along with sodium, potassium and glucose and other thing which plays. Because without calcium, heart will not function normally, muscles will not function normally, coagulation not take place. So 10 milligram is the ideal for calcium. If it is low or other thing, can be adjusted with thyroid, parathyroid and bones as such, and digestive system. I have explained, you can see it leisurely when you want, but homeostasis again. But it contains calcium and phosphate, and ratio of calcium phosphate is again in Divyank only. That's beauty. Now comes the mean arterial blood pressure has to be 93. That means systolic blood pressure is 120 millimeter, diastolic blood pressure is 74, and pulse pressure 46. When we calculate mean arterial blood pressure, it is diastolic blood pressure of 74 plus 38.2% of pulse pressure, not 1/3 of pulse pressure, which books talk about it, because the whole structure of systolic and diastolic is with Divyank alone. That is something which I want everybody to understand, so that we can have an impeccable wisdom of the highest order. Now there comes to the question of partial pressure of oxygen, which is important. We live in Chennai. Sea level is 160 millimeter mercury is the pressure of oxygen. But alveolar level, it is 100. But on Venus and it is this. But here I would like to bring one thing more important. At arterial end of the capillaries, it is 60.8034. And the venous end, it is 38.1966. So you see the Divyank sequence here also. 160, 100, 61.80 and 38.2 is in exactly, that is divine design. That's how it works. And if we talk of only one value, not of the diversified value, which we are talking about the disease model, we should teach the perfect anatomy, physiology in biochemistry and psychology, not disease model to start with. Diseases can be left to the patients and doctors to take care of it. For perfect human being, which our objective should be prevent problems, curtail aging and reverse aging. For that we need perfect values. And I at 73, I am able to bring the level which I was at 21 most probably. But I am better than what I have been all my life. And because of Divyank I have been better because I am trying to understand things, Ayurveda and yes, food with Divyank, everything with Divyank. That's it. Now come to the question, another point where 10 stands out in Tan body. All the books talk about 8 lobes of the brain. And I say it cannot be 8, it has to be 10. And then I say, you say 2 frontal, 2 parietal, 2 occipital and 2 temporal. But you have missed something with the 2 which is insular cortex. And that is right in the middle. And that is important because autonomic nervous system is much more important than sensory and motor alone. Sensory is to bring information, motor is to do. Motor is for voluntary. But involuntary is much more important than voluntary because this is one which makes us think rationally because things are already taken care of. To produce that insular cortex is the 2 part. I have shown that in spinal cord you have different segments. If you take cervical, it has posterior dorsal root ganglion and your anterior horn cell. It has no lateral horn cells from which sympathetic system or parasympathetic system arise. And autonomic is that. But between T1, T2, T3, T4, T12 to L1, L2, 14 segments, you have lateral horn cells from which sympathetic system arises. And beauty is there are 14 segments, 28 preganglion nerves, and you have 45 paravertebral chains. And that ratio of 45 to 28 is again Divyank. Amazing. And when you come to the sacral part, S2, S3, 4 have got lateral horn cells, but from 3 you get 5 nerves, 5 organs. Is again Divyank. What an amazing work you see when you go into very interesting divine design of nature. But unfortunately, nobody has written like that, nobody talks about it. As a result, nobody finds anatomy, physiology, biochemistry and psychology interesting enough because we are not making the knowledge entertaining. That's it. Now the question of coming to the teeth also very important because you have 2 types of teeth. Deciduous teeth, which are temporary milky teeth. You have 2 incisors, 1 canine, 2 molar. That means 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 1 is the 21s, which are the temporary teeth you can see in the picture right on top. Then when you come to the permanent teeth, you have 32. 2 incisors, 1 canine, 2 premolars and 3 molars. 8 plus 8 plus 8 plus 8 is 32. The ratio of 32 into 20 is what Divyank is again. What an amazing interesting. But when you come to the roots of incisors, canine, premolar and other thing, incisor has got 1, canine has got 1, premolar has got 2 and molars have 3 roots. Is it coincidence? Because it's again according to the Divyank sequence. It has to be like that. Even if you take a smile, incisors of the upper one, the length and breadth exactly in Divyank ratio. Is it a coincidence? No, but that's how design is. So that is, if this is the knowledge which give it, I can assure you, people will remember for the rest of life because it is very entertaining. We love movies which entertain us, give the knowledge. Impeccable wisdom is much more entertaining than giving something which is confusing by and large. That's it. Now there comes question of digestive system. As I have made very clear, the prime function of digestive system is continuous supply of water, 61.8%, nutrients, electrolytes and other vital elements for integrated homeostasis and perfect health. That's the prime function, not the one which books talk about it. What books talk about, I call it executive function: ingestion, digestion, absorption, assimilation, and defecation. And that is one part. Now the structure of digestive system is designed as a frugal system in a fructivorous birds only. It is not like canine carnivorous animals or herbivorous animals. We are unique between those two. And that is something which I want people to remember. We are fructivorous, frugal, like birds. We are not like meat-eating animals or grass-eating cows. Leave it at that. Now comes the respiratory system. Is also designed with Divyank alone. Ingestion of oxygen and expulsion of carbon dioxide to the extent 61.8034. The inspiration is active 38.2% and expiration is passive 61.8. The whole design is with that. That is also something which I want to show. Here also Divyank stands out. When it comes to the question of digestive system, as I told you, the body cells and capillaries, you can see arterial end 61.8% pressure and venous end and 38.1%. These are the capillaries which express things out. Right out to all the products up to 4 micron size can easily pass through. Beyond that they cannot pass through, and that is what I am talking about. And this gives the blood. But there are a lot of lacunae otherwise which I want to make people understand the real beauty of this, and it is designed again with Divyank and Divyank only. You can see it leisurely when you really come to the stage to understand concept very clearly. Systolic is 38.2% and diastolic is 61.8%. Everything is based only on that. And you can go to cardiovascular system and see it again in detail. This is just introduction. Now comes to the excretory system. The kidneys length and breadth is again Divyank. It's the most intelligent organ in the body. Even slightest change in different aspects of molecular change in the body can pick it up, your blood pressure, pH and other things, and immediately rectify things so that we can have a perfect health. Erythropoietin is produced when RBC comes down, or aldosterone renin is produced when blood pressure comes down. Like everything which is body is sensed and produced in the kidneys along with the heart and lungs and other things. Is a beautiful combination, and once we understand that is important. But what is interesting thing here it is, you have a science of limiting pH which urine can produce. It can go only up to 0.4, 0.5, not below that. And in that combination, 7.4 divided by 4 or 4.5 divided by 7/4 is both Divyank ratio only. Again, it is not mere coincidence because everything is designed with Divyank. That is my point again and again. Divyank has changed me completely. Even whatever press I have done, but Divyank I am able to make it better. I think my dedication is much more since 2014, 2015. Much more than what it has been earlier. Earlier somewhere I was doing more studying other things and reproducing. Now I am doing something based on my experience as such. Now the question, the endocrine system is again about 10 endocrine systems which are important. You have pineal gland, you have hypothalamus, you have anterior pituitary, you have posterior pituitary, you have thyroid, you have parathyroid, you have thymus, you have pancreas, you have adrenal as well as testes and ovaries. And these are the organs which have made a real difference in autonomic nervous system, endocrine combination and a neuroendocrine nervous system by and large. They work and think so that we have enough time for spiritual purposes ourselves. And that's it. Now the consequence of procreation. And procreation is another thing which is out of the world. And let me tell you, sperm and ovum put together come and form zygote, and they are implanted in 8 days, and based on the information let me tell you, Divyank has made me understand the beauty of female menstrual cycle much better than what the world has spoken about throughout the world. As a single person, I have challenged all the information which is given about female menstrual cycle to the world is defective, defective, defective. Can you imagine one man challenging the entire world and saying you haven't thought about it? You don't even know when exactly the female menstruation start. It is not a bleeding stage of 5 days and proliferation 8 days, ovulation in 13 days of that. It is 3 days before bleeding, which is important. When you see fantastic changes in hypothalamus, you see fantastic changes in interior pituitary, you see fantastic things in ovaries, you see fantastic things in endometrium, and also many things which I have explained. One subject itself shows how defective is our teaching, the way we are teaching. And that procreation has made a difference, and I can tell you, here I will also say, it's a 22nd week of gestation, the soul enters, is something which has changed, which can transform the DNA B double helix to the one which I am talking about, so that we can lead unto the world with a much better, impeccable wisdom by and large. Now come to the question, last stage, which I would say is a culmination from Tan Vidya to Tantra Vidya. I will not go into that because that would be a separate topic of chakras, nadis. Having explained that earlier, let me now put it this. I think it's been lovely talking to you about Tan Vidya, perfect anatomy, physiology and biochemistry by and large. I think that is the kind of knowledge which is required for everybody to move on. Thank you very much. It was lovely discussing everything in detail from my experience. That's it. Thank you very much.